As we all know, the pursuer type enemy in Resident Evil is a well-known enemy type that has been featured in multiple Resident Evil games throughout, and that is especially true in this current era of Resident Evil where all of the RE Engine games have featured a pursuer type in some way. With 7, it was Jack Baker as he chases around Ethan during that whole game, and then with 2 and 3 reimaginings, you of course had Mr. X and Nemesis in those games. And then with 8, it was Lady Dimitrescu during the castle portion of the game. And so we've had plenty of pursuer types, and they're being used in a very similar way to how the chainsaw guys in the second trilogy were being used, where every game in that trilogy had a chainsaw guy. 4, 5, and 6 all had someone with a chainsaw. And so we're seeing pursuer types being used a lot, and my thought here is, should 4 reimagining kind of take a break from that, or should they continue on with this pattern? There are a lot of theories suggesting that they will continue, where people are thinking, oh, it's going to be Chief Mendez chasing Leon in the village portion, or he's going to be chasing Ashley around in little segments that she's playable. Others are saying things like it's going to be Dr. Salvador chasing Leon around, or that the Vertigo in the castle will do it, or even that they're going to bring in the Hookman concept from the early versions of RE4 and have him serve as like a hallucination pursuer, and that's what they'll do. So plenty of theories are supporting the idea of a pursuer enemy being featured in RE4 reimagining, but for me personally, I just think it's kind of time for Capcom to take a break from it, because I feel like it's been a bit overused. I'm kind of over it at this point because it doesn't have the impact that it once did. When 7 came out and Jack Baker just showed up around the corner, that was very intense and impactful and fresh. But now it's just like, come on, again? Lady Dimitrescu is chasing you in the castle. Even with Nemesis in RE3, it was getting old. So to me, I would just like to see something new and more unique, because there are plenty of other ways that you can bring in a survival horror vibe in these games without it just being something chasing you around all the time for an entire segment of a game. I would like to see them look into doing something else. However, if they do want to have some sort of chase sequence, they can do it, but I don't think it needs to be the traditional pursuer type that we've been seeing throughout these games. I think instead it should be like a very short segment, and it should feature Dr. Salvador like many people have speculated. But what they do is they have the part where Leon gets knocked unconscious by Chief Mendez and then gets infected with the Plaga. After all that happens, he wakes up and he doesn't have his weapons in this version of the game. Think of that. They're actually smart enough to take Leon's weapons away this time. So now he has to try and figure out how to get his weapons, which are, probably behind some locked door or something. So he has to find the key and solve some puzzles. But while doing this, Dr. Salvador is looking for him, and this would be a very similar vibe to The Evil Within, where in the beginning of that game there's a chainsaw guy chasing Sebastian around, but once Leon gets his weapons, he's able to start blasting and smoke Dr. Salvador.
But it's a lucky thing I had my pieces.
Your pieces?
My guns.
Oh. Right.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bah,
Wow.
bah.
And that be the end of that. No more hiding, no more nothing. Just blast away at Dr. Salvador. That would be perfect because it would be short, it wouldn't be the main focus, it would just be a nice little way to bring in a little bit of tension because you don't have your weapons and you have to avoid them, but as soon as you get your guns back, you can start firing at Dr. Salvador with full power. And so that would be just fine for me. I would be cool with seeing that, but I just think the traditional pursuer type that lasts for like the entire village segment or the entire castle or even the whole game, I don't think that needs to be in this game. I think personally they could stop with that. But what are your thoughts? Do you think they should continue with the pursuer types? Do you actually enjoy seeing them featured in all these games, and would you like to see RE4 have that in here? Or are you a bit burned out with it and think that the impact has sort of dropped down, and you think maybe this is where they should kind of take a break from that and focus on something new and fresh? What are your thoughts? Let me know. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up here, and I shall see you all on the next one. See you then.